Hey there, and welcome to The Hash. I'm Zach Seward. We got Will Foxley. We got Jen Sinesi. We got Naomi Brockwell. We're here to get you up to speed on crypto news today. Let's do this thing. All right, who's starting? Pick me up. Who's starting this? Naomi, start us off. Let's go to DC. What's going on?
Yeah, some fun things going on there. So I'm going to read a tweet from Senator Elizabeth Warren and then throw to Assad. So she says, stablecoins pose risks to consumers and to our economy. They're propping up one of the shadiest parts of the crypto world, DeFi, where consumers are least protected from getting scammed. Our regulators need to get serious about clamping down before it is too late. And this was in response to some comments that she made at the hearing the other day. She posted a video. Let's take a look at what she said.
DeFi is the most dangerous part of the crypto world. This is where the regulation is effectively absent, and no surprise, it's where the scammers and the cheats and the swindlers mix among part-time investors and first-time crypto traders. Shoot, in DeFi, someone can't even tell if they're dealing with a terrorist. Stablecoins provide the lifeblood of the DeFi ecosystem. In DeFi, people need stablecoins to trade between different coins, to trade derivatives, to lend and borrow money, all outside the regulated banking system. Without stablecoins, DeFi comes to a halt.
So what are your thoughts on that, everyone? Without stablecoins, DeFi would collapse. Without these centralized intermediaries who don't have cash on hand in their reserves, DeFi, decentralized finance, would collapse. Some interesting presumptions there. I definitely want to dive into her reserve requirement, but I'm going to throw this to a group to start off with. Will, start off with you. What are your thoughts? Does stablecoins rule DeFi, and without centralized stablecoins that she wants to regulate, will DeFi collapse?
I think she's totally spot on, and we should regulate the hell out of DeFi, shut it all down. Now, what she's going off and spouting off the bat, it's a little insane to see this on Capitol Hill in the first place. I think we should take a moment and just think about that. I remember reporting with Zach back in summer 2020 and thinking, like, what are these things? What is this, like, compound finance? What is this comp token? What are stable? Boom. You know, a little bit less than a year and a half later, we're on Capitol Hill and Elizabeth Warren is railing against DeFi. So that tells you how fast things are moving in general. But to your point and your question, Naomi, yes, stablecoins are the lifeblood of DeFi in many ways. I think there is Bitcoin and Ethereum are there. They're kind of like the reserve assets in a sense. But to move between different tokens, you definitely need stablecoins. You're definitely swapping out of stablecoins when you're trying to take profits. And when you're moving into a new position where you're moving between derivatives or borrowing and lending, typically using a stablecoin, using a dollar as your unit of account. So that's totally spot on. Where she's incorrect, though, is saying that there is no regulation in this space. These blockchains are self-regulating. Why? Because you can go and look at any person's position on an account and say, oh, this is how much collateral they have. This is how much interest rate they're getting. This is what tokens they get back. It's all open and permissionless. You can view it anywhere, anytime, globally, 24/7 in a way that the traditional financial system can't even begin to comprehend. So she's very off base on that point, and I'd be pretty happy if someone in Capitol Hill could sit in front of a hearing and talk to her about that. Jen, I'll throw it down to you.
I just want to say, Naomi, this story made you so angry. Your computer screen was shaking while you were talking. You're banging on the desk.
Fury.
No, it's actually the earth that I made shake. I caused an earthquake here. Everything is moving. It's just the way I roll.
Oh my gosh. So I just want to talk about this parallel that Senator Warren drew. She said, in DeFi, someone can't even tell if they're dealing with a terrorist. And then her next sentence, or maybe the sentence after that, she said, and stablecoins are the lifeblood of DeFi. And just this language and these parallels she's drawing, stablecoins are what's funding terrorists in DeFi is really upsetting because, throughout this entire hearing, we didn't hear about how DeFi is providing financial access to people who previously didn't have it. And DeFi is actually offering a lot of solutions to a lot of problems that people all over the world have been experiencing for a very long time. But Naomi, I think that you have more to say about this, so I'm going to pass it back to you.
Yeah, just on your point, Jen, I mean, DeFi, like heaven forbid people should get access to interest rates in a world where the central bank will not allow us to make any money on our reserves and are inflating the value away. Heaven forbid people should actually have access to something that could help safeguard their wealth. But I want to go back to something that she said a little earlier in the bite. She mentioned how Tether in particular is backed by potentially only 10% cash on hand in their reserves, 10% backing, which sounds very scary, right? I'm personally very scary. I'm not happy with that number at all. But let's also look at bank reserves. All right. So traditionally they were around 10% for a while, and then they went down to 3% for a while. Guess what happened? March 15, 2020, it was announced that the Federal Reserve was changing the ratios to 0%. 0% effective as of March 26, 2020. They said that this action eliminates reserve requirements for all depository institutes. Did you guys know this? It's very interesting. This isn't even a COVID-related thing. This was announced in January 2019. The FOMC announced its intention to implement monetary policy in an ample reserve system. So they announced that later on they would be implementing this strategy to bring reserves down to 0%. That is crazy. So if you are trusting your money in the bank and you think that your bank reserves are a lot more secure than your Tether reserves, you are dreaming. But I'm going to throw this to Zach for your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do a quick
Will,
Will, yeah, go for it. Will, you got it.
Yeah. I'll jump in there really quick just to talk about the Tether reserve thing. I think that it's good to have scrutiny about Tether. It's good that financial journalists are looking into it. But this comment from Elizabeth Warren is completely off base because she's talking about only 10% reserve. Everyone who critiques Tether fails to look at the money markets that Tether also invests in, and they don't classify that as a cash reserve, even though money markets are essentially a cash reserve of sorts. It just has a very low interest rate and they're a little bit less liquid. So I think her comment again is just, it's incorrect. It's totally incorrect. A lot of these things that she's saying are completely off base. And I'm wondering where she's getting this information from. And it's certainly not winning any fans among crypto Twitter or anybody else, which I think, just look at the demographic. That's where everything is moving in terms of young voters. And also there's a lot of money in crypto. So just from like a voting perspective, I think we should kind of bring that up. I don't see what she is doing that's going to help her out in the next few elections. She's just going to keep pushing this crypto native story that crypto's terrible and that terrorists are funding blockchains and attacking the American traditional financial system. It doesn't make sense. Zach, I'll throw it to you for last comments though.
Yeah, I mean, just last thought on it is Bitcoin has sort of transcended into something that's been sort of embraced by financial institutions. And I think we've seen sort of a thawing of some of the hardline anti-crypto comments around that stuff. DeFi still remains niche, right? It's still a small subset of the crypto, the crypto ecosystem. So until it's a bigger thing, until mainstream DeFi is a thing, and until DeFi really picks up on other chains where it's not as costly as it might be on Ethereum, it's still going to be an easy target, I think, until sort of mass usage kicks in. So I don't know. Stepping back, I think that's probably the dynamic at play here. But I think we're going to change gears, and I think Will has the next story. Will, what are you going to say?
That's right. Speaking of other chains and Ethereum being too costly, Bank of America has put out a new research report talking about Avalanche as a viable alternative to Ethereum. Ethereum, of course, is the second largest blockchain by market cap and has a host of different assets on top of it, including stablecoins. It's really just become the second go-to name in crypto behind Bitcoin, but there's a lot of competitors coming up right behind it, and Avalanche has been one of those tokens this year that has done quite well. I think year over year, it's well over 1,000% in terms of like price of the token. It's down about $40-50 from its high, I think, in September or so. Just kind of looking at this Bank of America report, the things they kind of put some emphasis on was the transaction speed, also like the cost of transactions. So to read a little quote from it, subnets enable faster time to finality, settlement, and lower costs than alternative blockchains. So basically, this Bank of America report just looks at, hey, there's lots of alternatives to Ethereum, and we're saying that Avalanche could be one that takes the crown. We've talked a lot about banking reports on the Hash previously, and I'm not a huge fan of them. I think they could just kind of cherry pick depending on like which token is doing well at a given moment. But Zach, I am curious for your thoughts. Obviously, Avalanche had some time in the sun a few months ago and popped up pretty hard. Right now, it's a little bit down again, but this Ethereum versus other chains narrative is not going away.
I think it's interesting that the banks are getting more niche in their crypto research, right? So they're looking at Avalanche, was maybe one of the leading sort of EVM compatible chains, and does offer maybe the possibility for, again, this dream of sort of mass scale DeFi that doesn't really exist to date. So I just think it's interesting that like B of A is talking about like Avalanche, and maybe they'll talk about like Terra next, or maybe they'll maybe there already is one on Solana. I don't know, but it's interesting to see sort of like Avalanche maybe becoming the next like Wall Street chain, which would be kind of interesting. I think we've seen, Solana, I feel like, is sort of like the Wall Street like VC chain right now, and maybe like Avalanche is the next one that B of A and others are going to really home in on. So I don't know. I think it's always funny to me when you see like big banks like Bank of America looking at some of these Ethereum alternatives and giving them a thorough and insightful analysis. It's just, I don't know. It's just funny to me at this point in time. That would have been, I don't know, unthinkable a year ago, but now we're seeing that much more often. So I'll toss this to Jen for her thoughts.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, Zach. I thought it was just like, what a year we've had that the Bank of America is doing a deep dive into Ethereum alternatives. And what a juxtaposition. We have Senator Warren saying DeFi is for terrorism. And then we have the Bank of America looking at alternatives for Ethereum and comparing, institutional investor adoption and speeds and fees. And so I just think it's a really interesting time. And my show note for this show was actually, what a time to be alive. It's just a really interesting time to look at how people are looking at this financial innovation. But Will, I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, I actually have a question for Naomi on this one. Pitch it to you in a second. So we've always had this Bitcoin versus Ethereum thing, right? Where my token is better than your token. That has been going on ad nauseum since 2015, 2016. But the last year or so, we've seen Solana, Avalanche, Near, these other protocols pop up, and they're going to be competitors against Ethereum and not Bitcoin. It almost seems like there is a large victory prize for being second place and for kind of taking that smart contract trophy home. Are you thinking that could kind of displace the Ethereum versus Bitcoin narrative we've seen for a while? And could that really just kind of knock Ethereum away from being able to take out Bitcoin?
I mean, there are some arguments that the way that CoinMarketCaps and everything calculated, Ethereum has already displaced Bitcoin. I mean, I think that when it comes to this pie, it's not a fixed sum. Value is being created every day as we figure out new uses for these assets. So we're creating wealth here. It's not like we're divvying up the pie and Ethereum has this chunk and they have to, divide it between all of the competitors there. They're really growing this pie and everyone is benefiting because they're figuring out all these new use cases for different digital assets. And it's really exciting to see. I do want to reiterate this report. I thought it was pretty hilarious because Bank of America, it's like you see this and you say, oh, Avalanche scaling capabilities, viable alternative Ethereum. Oh, this is really exciting. Oh, it's Bank of America that says it. Oh, why are we even reading this? So it's just very interesting that they are diving in, but I would definitely look to the people in the crypto space, such as people on CoinDesk, for more valuable information than something that Bank of America could come out with. But let's change track and go to a break. What have we got coming up next, Zach?
Let's go to a break, and we're going to talk about Dapper Labs, which is the maker of NBA Top Shot and the Flow blockchain. They're going on an acquisition spree. They already bought a company that aren't going to tell us which, and they got some funds to get some more. Dapper Labs, buying some stuff. We'll talk about it after the break.
I'm Pete Paschal, Chief of Staff for Content, and you're watching CoinDesk TV.
Hi, you're watching The Hash. Let's talk about Dapper Labs. They made a big NFT hit in NBA Top Shot, and now, thanks to their growing ecosystem, they're looking to bring more startups under the Dapper umbrella. According to a pair of SEC filings and confirmed by a Dapper Labs spokesperson, they are looking to buy some startups. They already bought one scrappy young startup. They wouldn't say the name of that startup. They will likely disclose that at a later date, but indicates that Dapper Labs is thinking big about what it can accomplish going forward into 2022. All right. Crypto M&A, a fascinating topic. We've talked about it a lot. It's always interesting to see, where people are plowing their gains from this bull run. I'm going to throw this to Will. What do you think Dapper could look like a year from now? I mean, is it just going to be that NFT company that did the NBA thing, or is there some bigger plans that are shaping up?
Yeah, I'm just going to totally speculate right now because it's actually a pretty interesting question. If you look at like where Dapper Labs has been, where it went, and where it's going right now, there you could take that any direction, right? So Dapper Labs kind of came up with this whole NFT card game model back in 2018, 2019, kind of under the radar. Most people weren't paying attention to it. And then it really popped strong and hard in February where NBA Top Shot was just taking off. Cards were flipping for millions of dollars. Then it kind of died off a little bit and hasn't had the same volume or price that other NFTs have had. A lot of the other NFTs like the Bored Ape Yacht Club and some like the other ones I can't like even think of right now have just popped up really hard. They had like a double bounce off their bottoms over the summer, and the NFT bubble kind of came back. But NBA Top Shot didn't come back quite as strong. And I have some friends who collect cards for a living, and they're kind of like, they don't really care too much about it. But it doesn't seem that that's stopping Dapper Labs from raising money, right? In September, they're looking at raising like $250 million. They had a valuation back, I think, during the summer at well over $1 billion. Zach, you can probably correct me on what that number was, but it was like
7.6 is the reported valuation. Yeah, 7.6.
Yeah, so I was like 7x off the number I just said. Okay. So pretty high value, right? It seems like they are just kind of gobbling up other NFT firms. They kind of be like what OpenSea is doing for marketplaces in terms of NFTs. They can do in terms of like creation of NFTs and bring people into their wheelhouse. And it makes sense if you're kind of looking at from like a market perspective. If their top product did so well and it kind of flamed out, but they have a ton of cash on hand, well, just go pick up everybody else while everything's cheap and then keep the party going. Jen, I'll throw it down to you.
Yeah, I think Dapper has been really interesting in the products that they release. Like, not one has been very similar to the other. And I think about like the genies avatars they had after NBA Top Shot, and I think that they're going to be quite strategic about the acquisitions they make. And I'm really interested to see what they unveil. I'm also going to speculate that there is going to be some kind of AR and AI in startups that they have acquired to play in the metaverse. I can just see their genies, maybe having their own personalities, or maybe being able to see your genies in an AR environment as an extension of the metaverse. So these are my predictions, and they are very far stretched, but we'll see. Zach.
I mean, we've heard from them that they're not just an NFT company, right? I think the thing we need to think about here is that they developed the Flow blockchain, which is one of these speedy potential competitors to Ethereum, and they could sort of be similar to maybe like the consensus. Consensus is to Ethereum as Dapper is to Flow, where they build they have these venture studios where they build projects that make these blockchains have value. It could be something totally out of left field in terms of what is still largely like undeveloped greenfield of the Flow blockchain. It's fast, it's speedy. There's not a lot of people building on it. And I think that I could imagine, at least, again, speculation, bringing in startups that help them build out that ecosystem in a meaningful way so that the next B of A report is not on Avalanche, it's on Flow. So I don't know. My thoughts there, but I'll toss it to Naomi.
Yeah, I would agree with Jen with your take that Metaverse is going to be the next play because it's the obvious next step for NFTs, being able to use them in the digital world. And so the fact that a large part of their market is kind of this sports scene, I wonder if we're going to get to a world where instead of just having playing cards, you could have some sort of AI that programs these cards to like your favorite basketball player. And then, it programs it so that NFT actually plays. Like it's programmed to play like that star. It uses all of their moves. And then you could use your avatar. You could potentially play a game with this basketball legend that you so admire. And like there's so much potential in the metaverse that you could interact with people in a way that you just can't in real life. So I'm very interested to see what direction they go in and what else goes on in the metaverse. But we have another metaverse story. So Jen, I'll throw it back to you for delving into that area more.
Yeah, we're staying in the metaverse. So Nike has aped into the NFT game. They've purchased NFT fashion and collectible startup. Zach, tell me if I'm saying this wrong. Is it just RTFKT or is it like Rtification?
Artifact. I think it's
Artifact. There we go.
I think that's it.
All
right.
my.
Big brains only. Big thoughts only. Anyway.
All right. So Artifact flagship product is a hybrid NFT physical shoe inspired by CryptoPunks. Nike President John Donahoe said in a blog post, "We're acquiring a very talented team of creators with an authentic and connective brand. Our plan is to invest in the Artifact brand, serve and grow their innovative and creative community and extend Nike's digital footprint and capabilities." So Artifact has become known for creating fashion items that live in the metaverse and can also live in real life. And they've also implemented this kind of AR capability. So I think it was at Paris Fashion Week, or maybe it was just in Paris. They launched an app that was very similar to Pokemon Go, and you could see these fashion items come to life. I think we have one of this interesting kind of puffer jacket. It may come up on the screen at any moment now, but maybe not. Okay, maybe. Oh, there nice. It is. Yeah. So this was
Meta
part
Jack
of this.
Et Og. Sorry, interrupted you.
It's Meta Jacket OG. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we think about like AR and AI in the metaverse, like we were just talking about, and it's really interesting that Nike is thinking this way. So, Zach, I'm gonna pass this off to you. What do you think of this acquisition?
I'll definitely cool. They do shoes and stuff too, so I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it gives Nike a leg up right now when it comes to big brands in this metaverse land rush. So now they have a key weapon at their disposal, and I think it's going to be cool to see how they turn, again, what has been a niche phenomenon into something that can potentially resonate with more and more people. I think it's going to be interesting to see how that materializes, and if that materializes. You know, it's still an open question, right? These fads, they come, they go. How do you make these things into something that provides lasting value for a customer base that's as large as Nike's? So yeah, Artifact, they're cool, makes sense. Curious to see if it works. Gonna watch this one for sure. And we should all be decked out in cool virtual swag /
what an idea
kicks at all
for
times.
Sponsorship.
All right, good times. Up to you, Naomi.
I just want to read out the description of this meta jacket because it's the coolest thing ever. So they say, over-the-top puffer jacket, anime ears and cuffs, power boost levitating necklace, holo displays, polygon space jellyfish texture, unique edition metaverse ready. Like, oh my God, I want to wear something like that in real life. Like levitating necklace. I don't know. This stuff gets really cool. And I think that we are going to even get to a world where we do have this hybrid interaction of metaverse apparel and real life apparel, whether it's through like AR goggles or whatever. Like we're heading in that direction, and I'm here for it because there's so much cool stuff you can do with fashion once we get there. But Jen, I'll throw it back to you.
I just wonder, when we think about these big brands getting involved in the metaverse, when IP comes into play, and if IP is going to create borders around metaverses, like, are we heading towards a world where I can only wear my Nike shoes in the Nike sponsored metaverse and I cannot interact with different metaverses, or I just think there's a lot of legal questions that are going to unfold in the next few years as we build out these metaverses. And I think it's going to be an interesting time for intellectual property.
I think it's cool.
Yeah,
I mean, they also do physical stuff, right? They made like actual shoes pegged 1-to-1 to the 10,000 CryptoPunks, right? So like it's an interesting project because the vision, I'd imagine, is the ability to merge the virtual and the real. And I think that they have shown some early promise in maybe achieving that. So Nike acquisition, pretty rad. Naomi, last thought.
Final quick thoughts. Yeah, when it comes to property rights in the metaverse, like we are so far away from even delving into that. I mean, they have to figure out how to code in, like literally just being able to whitelist certain tokens so that you could maybe, send tokens to your fans, create a space in the metaverse, and only those people holding the tokens can enter. Like we haven't even figured out that. Currently, if you wander through the metaverse, you're just kind of wandering through people's properties. You're like all of like we're so far away from anything that is that comprehensive, like being created, because this stuff is tough. Like we have a long way to go, and I'm glad there are billions of dollars piling into this because there's a lot of work ahead of us. I don't know if you guys explore the metaverse at all. Like it's really cool and interesting, but yeah, we got a lot of kinks to work out there. And currently, if you're going into building anything in an Ethereum metaverse, I hope that you have trillions of dollars in your back pocket to build, because anything on chain is just incredibly expensive. And if it's not on chain, then it's not a decentralized metaverse at all. It's just someone's server hosting all this stuff. So just be aware, like pass through all of the buzzwords and understand what the reality of the metaverse is right now. Very cool. Lots of promise. Long way from there yet. But Zach, I'll throw it to you for wrapping.
All right, let's wrap this thing. Just be aware that when I roll in to the metaverse nightclub, I better be looking fly as hell, and we better get these fits proper. And a little bit of news, breaking news. There might be some actual outfits making an appearance on the hash in coming days that will be cool. Not metaverse. Okay. We do what we do. All right, that's it. Let's wrap this thing. I'm Zach Seward. That's Will Foxley. That's Jen Sanasi. Naomi Brockwell. We're the hash. Thanks for being here. We'll see you tomorrow. Good times.
See you tomorrow. There's the singing today.